Welcome back. Now to our next conversation. Well, 2022, global economy has experienced food inflation as a result of supply disruptions brought about by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And back here in Nigeria, food inflation hit 24.13%. That was in November 2022. We're still waiting for the December numbers. That'll be out soon. But let's get a sense of how, food security can be achieved at the subnational level. Join us now is State Commissioner for Agriculture, Ms. Abisola Olusoya, joining us right here in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
So I remember sometime late last year, you did have a projection for contribution of agriculture to IGR in Lagos State, and it was about 1 billion, at the time, and at the end, you were hoping to get about 1.2 billion.
Yes.
How did that work out? I
actually touched 1.2 billion. Yes, for 2022. 2021 obviously was 1 billion and let's say 100 million. But like I had said, it was the first time in the history of the Ministry of Agriculture, Lagos State, that we ever hit the billion mark. So for the number of years that Lagos State has been in existence, we have never touched the billion mark. The highest that had ever been done by the ministry ever was roughly about 300 million. So to have jumped from that number all the way to 1.1 billion and then 1.2 billion in this year, even with COVID and what have you, economically and the slump in the markets and what have you, I believe that the Ministry of Agriculture still did very well in upping the numbers.
Tell us how you achieved this.
So the truth of the matter is that when it comes to revenue generation, the administration of Mr. Babajide Olusola is very akin to harnessing all of the resources at its disposal just to ensure that we don't have as many leakages as we had in the past. The Ministry of Agriculture and every value chain under it, it has the potential to actually generate billions and billions of revenue, because when you look at the entire value chain, from the point of input supply all the way to aggregation, to logistics, to warehousing, to marketing, to the final consumption by the market, you realize that the amount of monies that could be made is huge. And what we have done as a ministry is just to go back and reassess, okay, what do we have at our disposal? What are the assets we have under us? And not just the assets alone, what is the quantum of the size of the market that we are dealing with, that we can be able to tap from it, just essentially telling those that we have concessioned assets to, and even those that we have partnered with in various areas, just to be able to pull the resources from them. So it was just a function of realigning our objectives with theirs, also looking over agreements that had been signed in the past and bringing it to the current realities, just to show that the market has expanded. The Lagos of the 1970s and 80s and 90s, which was on the premise of what some of these assets were leased out to, is completely different from the realities today. If you look at the population, Lagos is getting close to 30 million people now. If you look at the Jakonde area, how many people were in Lagos? So you cannot begin to utilize what was agreed upon 20 years ago and still be asking for such amounts of money today in terms of revenue generation. So we had to do a lot of renegotiation, looking at today's realities, and not just that, also trying to open up new possibilities. So if you look at the red meat value chain, for instance, there are a lot of initiatives that we have actually brought to the fore, trying to transform the red meat space with the feedlot program, trying to also bring about last mile meat stores, and not just that, even in terms of being able to assess those within the space, particularly those that are operating clinics illegally, just trying to clamp down on them, but not just clamping down on them, trying to reassess to see, okay, is there a possibility around how things can be done in a legal framework such that at least the Lagos State government can also generate revenues for it. Then I think more importantly, Lagos being the largest market in sub-Saharan Africa with over 24 million people, and looking at the amount of food that we consume on an annual basis, which is right now over 5 trillion naira, it goes to show that there's so much possibility around us. So we are even trying to reorganize our food systems in such a way and manner that what comes into Lagos, we can actually be able to capture the data, what is going out to the various markets, we understand how the movement is, and then be able to take the value from there, for the people of Lagos, for the utilization across the various MDAs.
Let's look at food inflation for now. That's at 24.13%.
Yes.
How do we solve this at a subnational level? What's the plan?
Truth is, for food inflation and looking at Lagos, when it comes to the agri value chain, you have production, you have processing, and you have marketing. Those will be the three legs, so upstream, midstream, downstream. In terms of strength, Lagos is strong when it comes to midstream and downstream sector, which will be the value addition of the processing and the marketing. When it comes to production, yes, we have areas of competitive and comparative advantage. So you talk about fisheries, for instance, where we have strength in aquaculture. We have a lot of aquaculture farmers, and we're also pushing initiatives, particularly around the cage and pen culture. And then when you look at processing, you have the likes of the Immortal Rice Mill, which is about to be commissioned, and you have other micro-processing facilities and small, medium-scale enterprises that are actually into value addition. Like I said, the biggest factor and the biggest advantage we'll still have is that we are the consumers, we are the market. Yes, inflation will hit us the hardest because at the end of the day, you are taken from other spaces. But what Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu has also initiated, which is actually in play right now, is the construction of the largest food park in Africa, sited on over 1.2 million square meters of land. Let me give you an example. If you go to Paris today, Paris has the largest wholesale hub in Europe. In that particular hub, which is just sited on 235 hectares of land, over 10 billion euros of food is transacted in that space, just 235 hectares, and this is the Rungis market. And in trying to use that as an exemplar to say Lagos can do the same, we have many markets. Food is coming from all over Nigeria and even other parts of West Africa into Lagos market. How are we able to capture this? The truth of the matter is inflation will continue to happen when you do not match supply and demand properly. All the foods are coming into Lagos. You don't know where they're coming from. People are selling at various prices, and you have so many middlemen. You can have up to 7, 8 middlemen between the producer and the consumer. Inflation will definitely hit. Yes, but when you have a particular location that can serve as an aggregation hub where all those foods are coming into, you can weigh what is coming in. You know who is bringing it in. You know who has ordered it. You know the standards that it has been produced with. You know the kind of tools and equipments that have been used to even preserve. And preservation is key because most of the time you experience about 40 to 50% post-harvest losses. When those losses are incurred, whosoever has produced or whosoever the middleman is still going to want to make his money, because in as much as half of that food is gone, he must still make his profits, which is why you buy less but for more money. Okay. But when you have an aggregation hub that has the facilities, that has the resources to be able to preserve food for a longer period of time, then it means you have less scarcity, even in periods where it is not yet the time for maybe harvesting or for that particular crop. And you'll be able to more or less keep the value in, and at the end of the day, the price point for that particular product is less. And that way, we are able to buy, and the average Lagosian is able to have more disposable income just by reason of this. Yes. All
right, so you did give the figure for 2022.
Yes.
1.2, you did hit billion. That. What do you think for 2023?
2023, the truth of the matter is, well, I'm estimating at least 3 billion.
3 billion?
The revenue, yes.
That's for 2023.
Yeah, for 2023, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ms. Bisola Olusoya, Commissioner, Minister of Agriculture, Lagos State. It was great having you.
Thank you very much.